Have you ever paused to wonder, if I vanished tomorrow, what would endure after me? Not the wealth in your bank account, not the grand house you call home, not the sleek car in your driveway, nor the fleeting fame you chase on social media. What truly remains is the imprint you leave in the hearts of those you've touched. It's the values, principles, and beliefs you've sown into the lives of everyone who's crossed your path. That is your legacy, a living, breathing testament to who you were and what you stood for. I once heard a father speak to his young son with words that struck me to my core. Son, I can't promise to hand you the entire world, but I'll teach you how to carve out your own. In that moment, I realized this father was richer than many who boast millions in their portfolios. His wealth wasn't measured in dollars but in the wisdom he imparted, the strength he instilled. We often get lost in the grind, chasing that next paycheck, that next promotion, forgetting that one day we won't be here to spend what we've earned. The question we should be asking isn't, how much am I making, but rather, what am I leaving behind that will outlive me? In today's message, I want to share with you 7 profound principles, timeless truths that will shift your perspective from living for a single lifetime to building a legacy that echoes through generations. True success isn't about having it all, it's about leaving behind something that continues to create value long after you're gone. Stay with me until the end, because Principle 7 is the cornerstone that will make your future generations grateful for the life you lived. These principles aren't just ideas, they're a call to action, a blueprint for living with purpose and leaving a mark that time cannot erase. Principle 1: Think beyond one generation. Let me take you back to a dusty afternoon in Texas, where I met a man who ran a modest lumber company with just over 40 employees. Curious, I asked him, "How long do you plan to keep growing this business?" He looked at me, his eyes crinkling with a knowing smile, and said, "Maybe I won't live to see this company become a corporation, but I want my grandson to see it." His words stopped me cold. They weren't about personal gain or immediate success, they were about a vision that stretched far beyond his own life. This man taught me a profound truth: ordinary people think for today, successful people plan for the next decade, but great people think for generations. Most of us live within the confines of our own lifetimes. We work to pay the bills, feed our families, clear our debts, and dream of a quiet retirement. But what if we dared to think further? What if we asked, after I'm gone, how will what I build today shape the lives of those I love? If you work only to survive, your efforts die with you. But if you build something greater than yourself, you plant a seed that will grow for generations. I've often likened this to planting an ancient oak tree. The person who plants it knows they'll never sit in its shade, yet they plant it anyway. Why? Because some gifts are meant to be given, not received. Legacy is the same, it's not for you. It's for those who will walk in the light you've created. When I was younger, my focus was narrow: make more money, secure my future. But as I grew wiser, I realized that true wealth isn't measured by numbers in a bank account. It's measured by the impact you leave behind. I once told an audience, if you live right, you won't just transform your own life, you'll change your family, your lineage, and generations yet to come. Here's the beauty of thinking beyond one generation: it changes everything. You spend differently, choosing to build rather than consume. You work differently, prioritizing sustainability over quick wins. You treat people differently, aiming to teach through example rather than dictate with words. Legacy isn't built by accident, it's crafted with vision and discipline. Those who see far live differently from those who only see the next weekend. So, I challenge you, if someone in your family mentions your name 50 years from now, what will they say? Will they talk about the house you left them, or the philosophy of life you instilled? A house can crumble, but a philosophy endures. Start today. Don't just ask, how will I live? Ask, how will those I love live because of what I build now? That's the first step to thinking beyond one generation. Once you plant that vision, every choice you make gains eternal significance. Principle 2: Build foundations, not spotlights. At a seminar in Los Angeles, I once told my audience, there are 2 types of people on the path to wealth: those who want to look rich and those who want to be rich. The first buys a flashy car to turn heads. The second invests in assets that generate freedom. Both spend money, but only one builds a foundation that lasts. It's tempting to chase things that make us feel rich: a sprawling mansion, a designer watch, an extravagant vacation. But shiny things lose their luster. Only a strong foundation endures. I knew a young man earning a decent $1,000 a month. He leased a BMW, rented a luxury apartment downtown, and basked in the envy of others. Everyone called him successful. 3 years later, when his business hit a rough patch, he lost it all. There was nothing solid beneath the glossy surface. Contrast that with a friend of mine who lived simply. He invested in a small store, bought land in the suburbs, and mastered the art of managing money. No one noticed him. But a decade later, he had true freedom, not because he earned more, but because he built a foundation that could weather any storm. Sustainable wealth isn't what you flaunt, it's what grows when you're silent. Look at the truly wealthy. They don't brag about their purchases. They talk about what they've built: a business, an investment portfolio, a legacy of knowledge for their family. They know the spotlight can vanish in a crisis, but a solid foundation stands tall. I often compare this to building a house on rock versus sand. Those who crave instant gratification choose sand, it's quicker, flashier. Those who understand true value choose rock, knowing storms will come. When the storm hits, only the solid foundation holds. If you want a lasting legacy, ask yourself, every dollar I spend today, is it to impress or to create? There are two kinds of investments in life: one makes you look better, the other makes you live better. The wise choose the latter. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy life. Enjoy it after you've laid your foundation. Like a farmer, don't eat the seeds, plant them. The harvest will come, and it will be worth the wait. Instead of asking, what will people think when I drive this car, ask, will my children benefit from this decision in 10 years? If the answer is no, you're spending on image, not impact. A true legacy begins with quiet, right choices, the ones no one applauds but that secure freedom for your family. Successful people buy experiences, rich people buy assets, but wise people build foundations. Principle 3: the greatest legacy is a financial mindset. I once heard a cautionary tale about a man in California who won $15 million in the lottery. Within a year, he bought a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, and a yacht. 3 years later, he was broke, drowning in debt. His story is a stark reminder: if you don't have a financial mindset, money will slip through your fingers faster than it came. You can leave your children a fortune, but if they don't know how to preserve, grow, or recreate it, your legacy will be fleeting. It's like handing someone a sword they don't know how to wield; it will harm them before it protects them. Truly wealthy people don't just pass down assets, they pass down a financial philosophy, discipline, foresight, and a mindset of value creation. I was once invited to a family meeting in New York, hosted by a seasoned businessman. In that room, he didn't talk about money. He talked about principles. To his children, he said, your father's money is just a tool. Without discipline, that tool will turn against you. He shared stories of his early struggles, when he had nothing, and how he learned that wealth begins in the mind, not the bank. Money is an effect, not a cause. If you want to keep it, you must transform your inner nature. A financially ignorant person will squander any fortune, while someone with the right mindset can rebuild from zero. Imagine inheriting a beautiful house but not knowing how to maintain it. The paint peels, the roof leaks, the foundation cracks. That's what happens to families who inherit wealth but lack wisdom. I call it the 3-generation loop. The first generation creates wealth, the second inherits it, the third loses it, all because the philosophy wasn't passed down alongside the assets. To break this cycle, teach your children the language of money. Show them the difference between assets and liabilities. Teach them to make money work for them, not the other way around. True freedom comes not from a fat bank account but from knowing how to manage it. A friend of mine started teaching his 12-year-old son this lesson early. Each month, the boy got a $50 allowance, $25 to spend, $25 to invest. At first, he grumbled. But years later, when that small investment grew, he discovered the thrill of passive income. That's how you plant a financial mindset, not by lecturing, but by doing. If you want your children to be free, leave them a system of thinking they can use for a lifetime. Because if they know how to create value, they'll never fear losing money, they'll know how to make it again. Money is a loyal friend only if you know how to speak its language. Otherwise, it will slip away without a goodbye. Principle 4: Create opportunities, not dependence. At a seminar in San Diego, I once said, there are two ways to ruin a generation: give them nothing, or give them too much. Sadly, many parents fall into the second trap. They love their children so fiercely that they shield them from life's challenges, unintentionally robbing them of resilience. I spoke with a wealthy father who said, "I want my kids to never worry the way I did." I replied, "Don't you see? It was those worries that made you strong." Growth comes from overcoming obstacles, not avoiding them. If you remove your children's hardships, you strip away their strength. Truly wealthy people don't just give money, they create opportunities. They don't buy fake security, they foster real growth. A successful entrepreneur I know refused to let his children inherit assets at 18. Instead, he said, "I want you to earn your first dollar with your own hands, so you know value comes from capability, not a check." He had them work part-time, experiment with small investments, and face failure in a safe environment. When they lost a few $100s, he didn't bail them out. He let them learn responsibility, the lesson money can't buy. Creating opportunities is like giving a fishing rod instead of a fish. The rod is skills, mindset, and resilience. The fish is short-term help that breeds long-term dependence. A wise parent teaches their child to fish and stands nearby to guide, not to do it for them. Ask yourself, in your family, are you fostering growth or dependence? Are you teaching your children responsibility, or doing so much for them that they never learn to stand alone? Truly wealthy people build capability in the next generation. They don't want their children to inherit assets, they want them to inherit the ability to create assets. The worst thing a parent can do is rescue their child from every struggle. Every time you save them, you rob them of the chance to save themselves. Creating opportunities is the art of balancing love and discipline, loving enough to want them to soar, disciplined enough not to clip their wings with ease. When you master this, you raise a generation that doesn't just inherit your legacy, they continue it. Principle 5: Sow today, the next generation reaps. Walking through a forest of towering redwoods in Oregon, I learned a lesson that stayed with me for years. The guide pointed to the ancient trees and said, "The people who planted these will never see them fully grown." I asked, "Why plant them then?" He smiled, "Because they're planting for the next generation." That moment crystallized a truth: every legacy begins with a seed, and every seed needs time, sometimes generations, to grow. We live in a world obsessed with instant gratification, quick success, fast wealth, immediate results. But legacy can't be rushed. You can't plant a seed today and demand shade tomorrow. All you can do is sow with faith and wait. Truly wealthy people invest in what takes time: a piece of land, a business, a scholarship fund, a body of knowledge. They don't just seek profit, they seek meaning. There's an old saying, no harvest without a sowing season. If you want the next generation to reap rewards, start planting the right seeds today. Don't just think about what your children will have. Think about who they will become because of what you sow now. Imagine your descendants speaking your name, not because you were rich, but because you laid the foundation for the life they enjoy. That's the essence of legacy: you sow, others reap. I met a woman in Arizona who started a small fund to teach financial literacy to high school students. Every week, she spent 2 hours sharing principles of money management, goal setting, and discipline. When I asked how many lives she hoped to change, she said, "Maybe not many, but I only need one to pass it on." That's long-term sowing. A single seed of knowledge can grow into a forest. Pause and reflect. What seeds are you planting today? A good habit? A life value? A sustainable investment? An example for your children? Every action is a seed. Plant them in the soil of discipline, not impulse. Don't fear that you won't see the results. The sower may not live to see the harvest, but the forest grows because of them. Your descendants may not know your name, but they'll live better because of your choices. That's true wealth: wealth in vision, values, and timeless impact. Principle 6: Turn values into family culture. I once spoke at a gathering of a business family in Chicago. 3 generations, grandparents, parents, and children, sat around a long table. They didn't discuss stocks or real estate. The meeting's theme was simple: family, values, responsibility. I asked the grandfather, the company's founder, what's kept your family prosperous for 40 years? He smiled, we don't just pass down wealth. We pass down culture. Wealth can be measured, but culture is what keeps it alive. A family can lose their home, their fortune, but if they hold fast to their values, they can rebuild from nothing. Conversely, a wealthy family that loses discipline, work ethic, or responsibility will crumble in a single generation, no matter their assets. I call this the law of living legacy. Values only endure when they're lived daily. You can teach a lesson once, but if it's not repeated, it fades. Turn that lesson into a habit, into a culture, and it becomes part of your family's DNA. The Rockefeller family has a tradition called a family constitution, a set of principles they review annually. It outlines their values, financial rules, and commitment to community. This document has kept them united for over 150 years through wars, crises, and change. You don't need billions to do the same. Start small, write down 3 values you want your family to live by: discipline, honesty, gratitude. Display them in your home, discuss them at dinner, live them every day. A father in Texas told me, my house has no logo, no brand, but my kids know, in this home, we finish what we start. That's family culture, simple, authentic, and repeated until it's second nature. Culture isn't built with words but with actions. If you want your children to be grateful, show gratitude. If you want them disciplined, live with a plan. Children learn by watching, not listening. When values become culture, you no longer need to teach, they're the air your family breathes. Money can be lost, houses sold, but a strong culture endures forever, etched into the minds and lives of every generation. Write this down: what 3 values do I want my descendants to remember me for? Then live them daily. When you do, your wealth will regenerate itself, and your family will produce not just heirs, but leaders. Principle 7: turn your life into an inspiring story. At a seminar in San Francisco, I asked the audience, if your life were a book, what is today's chapter writing? The room fell silent. Most of us are so busy living that we forget we're authoring a story with every choice. I smiled and said, whether you realize it or not, you're writing every day. The question is, what do you want others to read? I've met countless people, millionaires, failures, dreamers, doers, and I've learned one truth: every life can be an inspiring story if you live true to yourself. You don't need wealth or fame. You just need to live with authenticity, conviction, and kindness. My first mentor, Mr. Skay, once told me, Jim, don't dream of having money. Dream of becoming someone others want to emulate. I was young and didn't fully grasp it. But now I see, true success isn't what you achieve, it's who you become. If you work with integrity, others notice. If you keep promises, they learn. If you rise after falling, they're inspired. Your life is a living lecture. I knew a carpenter in Phoenix who worked 40 years with his hands. When I asked if he regretted not getting rich, he said, no. I don't leave a big bank account. I leave hands that know how to work and an example of discipline. My children saw it. My grandchildren follow it. That's my wealth. His words humbled me. He didn't win the material race, but he won the race of impact. People may forget your words, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. You don't need a stage to inspire, just live honestly. One day, your descendants will tell your story. They won't talk about your wealth but about how you lived, the mornings you worked when no one was watching, the kindness you showed in tough times, the beliefs you held firm. That's the invisible legacy, the most powerful one. Ask yourself, if someone tells my story someday, what will they say? Live as if you're writing the most beautiful chapter of your life's book. You don't need to be perfect, just authentic and persistent. Share your journey, even the stumbles, because your courage today may light a path for someone tomorrow. A life lived with values is the greatest speech. When you leave, your story will live on, not in words, but in the hearts you've touched. I'm not proudest of the speeches I've given but of the young person somewhere who changed their life because I once said, don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. That's legacy, the good you imprint on souls. The 7 principles, your blueprint for a living legacy. Let's tie it all together. These 7 principles aren't just ideas, they're a roadmap to a life of meaning. Think beyond one generation. Great people live for those who come after them. We build foundations, not spotlights. Sustainability outshines showmanship. Pass down a financial mindset. Understanding is the asset that can't be lost. Create opportunities, not dependence. True strength is teaching others to stand alone. So today, the next generation reaps. Great seeds need time to grow. Turn values into family culture. Habits are the fortress of legacy. Turn your life into an inspiring story. Your life is the legacy that outlives you. Now, ask yourself, if I disappeared tomorrow, what would remain because I lived? It doesn't need to be money or fame, just a trace of value that ripples through time. If these principles resonate, like, subscribe, and join the journey to live with purpose. Share in the comments, what's the one value you want to leave the next generation? I read every word, because that's where legacy begins. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you attract by becoming the person legacy seeks. Become that person, and watch your life transform not just your world, but the worlds of generations to come.